Yo, what's up, guys? Joel Hoffman here, and I got the next sober training lesson coming for you guys. And what it's going to be about is finding mentors and adopting their strengths. So, you guys hear me talk about this a lot. If you've seen my Hoffman 65-day challenge, you know there's to pick 5 mentors and study those 5 mentors for 65 days. That's part of the challenge. So, whenever you find mentors in your life, whoever you have around you, whether they're negative or positive, they're going to influence the way that you think. It's just the way that it happens. So you might have heard this before. You become the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. I've talked in my previous videos about developing your environment, how your environment affects you. So whenever you find these mentors, what's going to happen is that you're going to pick up these mental traits. You're going to pick up their strengths. You're going to need to adopt some of their philosophies. So you need to study these people intently. You need to immerse yourself into their autobiographies, into whatever they did. You guys really need to study them, understand how they practice, understand how they overcame their weaknesses. One thing that I love about Michael Jordan is that he didn't have any weakness in his game, and that's what he focused on, is to make sure whatever weakness that he had, whether he wasn't strong enough, then he was in the weight room lifting weights, whatever that he had, he strengthened those weaknesses to make sure that he was an all-around player. So what you need to do is, whenever you're studying these mentors, you're going to run across, everybody's human. So you're going to run across people that might have had some negative traits about them. So what you need to do is, whenever you identify these positive traits, whether it might be leadership, their way that they spoke, their ability to retain information, whatever it is, their ability to invent new things, whatever their creative mind, whatever that you find about them, then identify the good things. But you also need to identify some negative things about them, things that you don't want to be like. For instance, Steve Jobs, amazing man, but he was an asshole. He was an asshole to his employees and to some other people in his relationships. So that's one thing to identify, like, oh, Jobs, I love these certain things about you, but sorry, Steve, I don't want to be an asshole like you. So there's these things that you have to identify with the negative things. A lot of great leaders, like I say, they're humans. Any human that you come across, you might be in some type of 12-step program or in some type of rehab. There might be just some regular people that have average jobs that might not be filthy rich, that you can look at as mentors, that you can develop some of their traits. When a guy that I used to work with, he seemed to not be flustered by anything. He was assistant, and he had to take on a lot of problems from the company, and no matter what seemed to come his way, he had to catch flack from the salesman, from all kinds of angles, and he dealt with a lot of problems. But no matter what happened, this guy always kept his cool. So whether he knew it or not, I studied him, and he became one of my mentors about me keeping my cool. I tried to see what he did. How did he handle it? I even watched the way that he breathed whenever he would receive phone calls, and I could hear an irate customer on the other end. And I would watch these things and study him. So it doesn't always have to be, these legends in the world and these super rich people. You can find good things in everybody around you. As a matter of fact, look for good things in everybody around you and learn from them. And the biggest thing about this, guys, is being humble enough to learn. Now, I believe I've said this before, but you gotta be real with yourself. And once that I realized, like, even if I spent my whole life, my mentor told me this. He said, even if you spend your whole life studying every single day, then at the end of the day, at the end of your life, even if you live to be 100 years old, you still wouldn't know shit. So there's also this certainty that you have to have, like, unless you're 100% sure and you are 1,100% sure about something, then you can't be so sure about it. Like, there always has to be this question. So you can't always be super certain that you're always right. So what you have to do is you have to be humble enough to learn, and then humble enough to accept that you could be wrong. Accept the fact that you could be wrong and explore new possibilities of what could be right, of what you might identify with, that you really feel like is the truth. Go into further facts, get more factual information about whatever it is that you need. But don't always assume that you're right about everything. Don't always assume that you know everything, because then you take away your chance to learn. You take away your chance to grow. So that's one thing that you're going to have to do in this process is be humble, and then just start becoming a sponge. Like, become where you love learning. Just start being this learning nerd. That's what I did. I had to become this learning nerd where I just wanted to spend all this time learning, and I became to where learning is really fun for me. Whenever I first started off, I remember my sales manager, it was years ago, Chad, he put us on these motivational videos. And I would be able to listen to like maybe a minute, 2-minute motivational videos, and they would get me worked up and stuff. But my attention span just wasn't trying to hear that. And so it wasn't until I started really like humbling myself and say, you know what, maybe there's something in here that I need. And then I bumped it up to 5-minute motivational videos. Then I bumped it up to 10. Then I wanted to start to learn about different people, and I wanted to start to study different people. That's when I started learning about the mentors. That's when I really started listening to my mentors. So I had to be humble enough to take one of my friends that was the same age as me, that grew up with me, that didn't have a college education or anything like that. I had to be humble enough to listen to him. But what he did have is he had the proof in the pudding. Like, he was making the money to back it up, and in his actions of the way that he changed really proved that he had changed his mind and changed the way he think, and he changed his behaviors and changed his life. So I had to be humble enough to listen to this man intently and to quote unquote take his shit, because he was one of the few people that wasn't scared to tell me about my own shit. So you need to have people around you that aren't scared to tell you about your own shit. You have to have these mentors that whenever you look in the mirror, you can reflect upon these people, whether it might be an Eric Thomas, a Jocko Willink, a David Goggins. You need to reflect upon these people. That way you could see where you're truly setting your limits. That way you could see where you're making your bullshit excuses. That way you could see how it's possible that you can overcome this stuff and that you could change. Find these different people. Everybody's different. You might be inspired by Beethoven. You might be inspired by Leonardo da Vinci. You might be inspired by Martin Luther King Jr. It doesn't matter. Malcolm X, Elon Musk. It doesn't matter who you're inspired by, but find these people and take on their positive traits. Study their positive traits and be humble enough to be like a sponge and adapt these people, and be humble enough to change. Be humble enough to change the way that you think, and be humble enough to keep an open mind about that you might have been wrong about things in the past. Keep an open mind that there might have been situations that you felt that you were so right in the past, but you might have been wrong. Keep in mind that you're going to make mistakes, and those mistakes that you have to learn from them, and you're going to fail, and those failures that you're going to have to learn from them. But it is in turn, if you learn from those failures and mistakes, that's how you can mold yourself into the person that you want to become. That's how you can imagine that person that you want to become and step into them by recognizing those failures, by recognizing those mistakes, by being humble, and by adapting people that's stronger than you, that's done more than you have, that by adapting great people, by adapting other people's strengths and philosophies, and being humble enough to have mentors, guys, and to put in this work, you will begin to develop a new personality. You will begin to develop new thoughts, and you will begin to develop new traits and become this new person. And then that change that you've wanted so bad, it could come. It'll start happening. You'll see it. You'll see yourself being the Helen Kellers of the world. You'll see yourself performing great things. You'll see in those gut check moments that you have this decision to be the old you or be the new you, and to step into greatness. When you start studying these people and be humble, that's whenever you will start to step into greatness. That's whenever you will make the right decision. That's whenever you will stop going back into those old patterns. But it starts with making that choice. That way you can get those new habits developed. You can get those new mental patterns developed. You can fire and wire together those new neurons and create that neuroplasticity needed in your mind to get the positive mental systems going. The positive systems that's going to help you continue to change your life and be successful. You guys, hit me up if you need anything. Go over the last sober training lessons if you haven't got a chance to hear them yet. Check out more of my videos. Subscribe to my channel on YouTube, and like my page on Facebook, Underground Motivation. You guys have a great day, and hit me up if you need anything.